So hi guys, welcome to Ustream. If you're new, the way to ask a question is to write to me on Skype, which is LisaCairns12. But I would prefer you to call me, so if you just leave a message saying call me, I will call you when the time is right. The trees blow in the wind, the sun shines, the birds sing, the birds sing, Lisa speaks, the computer produces lights and pictures. The screen is the screen. The hair is the yellowy colour. And all of it's happening on its own. All of it. The heart beats, the lungs breathe, the senses feel. The warmth, the bum on the seat, the feet on the floor. And all of it's happening on its own. Thinking happens, emotions happens, feeling, all types of feelings happen. And then the humans with their complicated thinking, they have this energy and these thoughts and beliefs that they are a separate person doing something, that they are the doer, that they move this body, that they move the hand up or do the speaking. They believe they've done good things and bad things, and that who they are is something that you can describe in time. Who they are is what they've done, where they've been, what they own, who they're in relationship with. Their thoughts, their feelings, this body. And all of that is a belief, an energy which is claiming the belief that you exist in time. And rather than this being as it is, this becomes seen through the lens of me, my life, and the world that I know. Hi Phyllis, hi Petra, hi Shannon, hi Spila. Hey Abby.
Hey, hi Lisa, can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Okay, can you see me as well or no?
No, I can just see a picture of you holding a hat.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Okay, so I know we did speak a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
But since then, what I actually did was whenever I had some questions, I kind of noted it down.
Yeah.
And I kind of have those questions listed in front of me right now, and some of them may not even make much sense, and I'll try to probably understand them myself as I read, but let's see if that's fine with you.
Okay, yep, sure.
Okay. So some questions are just sort of curiosity, not they're not very direct. But I mean, the first question that I have is uh, when that I or the identity is dropped, like does it come back again? Like when some old friend of yours, like shouts you when like on the street or something from the past, and there's a sudden reflex reaction that happens for you uh, in a way that old identity is back. Does that happen, or is that happens, but that is for no one, as you say?
These questions aren't really answerable because you stop looking at yourself in that timeline. So you stop looking at yourself as what I am yesterday and what I am tomorrow, and you stop. There's not an energy judging about what's happening, so it's just happening. So anger can arise or upset can arise, but it's no longer looked
Okay.
at in a time frame. But anything can happen. Who knows if the person comes back or not comes back? I mean, it's a bit of a bizarre idea anyway.
Okay, so there is no recognition or comparison. So there's no way to really have that judgment saying that the old Lisa is back or anything.
No.
Okay. Okay. Second question.
Yeah.
And I have your book, and I've kind of gone through it multiple times, like randomly.
Yeah.
And what I did not understand is aliveness. I mean, the way I always thought was aliveness was had to deal with, and you do clarify that in your book. But what I always thought is that aliveness has got to do something with the human body. I mean, if the human body is dead, there is no such thing as aliveness or beingness, right? I mean, if I am dead, then
No,
but
it
what
is. Everything is aliveness. So what dies when the body dies is the memories and the ideas and the habits of the body. But aliveness, the body is inside aliveness. But we think that the body is alive and that I am alive.
and okay, so you said the body comes and goes in aliveness.
Yeah.
So okay, so aliveness has got nothing to do with necessarily with the living.
No, it's just being used as a tool to feel through the body. But aliveness doesn't, or beingness has nothing to do with the body.
Can you repeat that?
Aliveness or beingness has nothing to do with the body.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm still not able to understand that. But okay.
It's just we think that the body's alive.
Yeah.
And that it dies when it stops moving, but the body never stops moving. It just stops moving in the way that we think it is, or we think of as alive, or we define as alive.
Oh, okay. Okay. So when actually, so what you're saying is when there's actually death, then there's nobody who calls it death really. So that definition, even that recognition that this is death is
It's
not
not
even
really
existent.
dead, it's just different.
It's just
But we
different.
see our aliveness and the human see as aliveness and being alive as the body moving in a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
And they see the absence of that movement as dead.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
So they see the body just laying there still and the heart and the lungs not working as dead. That's what we've defined as dead. But really, the body's now transferring and moving into something else. And aliveness never belonged to that body.
Okay.
Aliveness is everything. Just
Okay.
using the body in order to have a certain particular experience, the human experience.
Okay. Okay. I think I get that. Another, and actually there are a list of 7 more questions, so I don't want to like take a lot of time.
Oh,
But
it's fine, I don't mind.
okay. Uh, so I'll skip the next question that kind of answers it. The other one that I have is now I've seen or what I heard is you referring to non-duality as a radical subject or it's a fascinating subject, but isn't that an ultimate truth in the sense rather than just a subject, or isn't it? I mean, wouldn't it? I mean,
No,
doesn't it
because there
deserve
can't be a
more?
truth. A truth is a positive. So all belief systems and all political systems and religious systems are about believing something, and that's why they're so popular. Even psychology or healing is all about taking on a positive belief and believing it to be true. And then people follow that and they
Right.
take that as true. But non duality isn't about that. It's not about taking on a new belief, it's the collapse of the idea that you are someone separate to life, that you are somebody in the body. And then that collapses and life becomes back to its original state, which is mystery. It's totally mysterious as to what this is and what's appearing and how it's appearing.
Okay. Yeah, I get that, but maybe it was a very trivial question. I was probably asking is non-duality being referred to as just a subject, doesn't it deserve a better or bigger word than just a subject?
What could we call it? A religion?
that, that will be interesting.
I don't know what to call it.
Yeah. No, that is fine. It was a
Because to call it the truth would be a
yeah,
lie. That would be bigger than calling it a subject, I suppose.
yeah. Okay. Okay. So the next one that I have is uh, like I mean, it's said that experiences are temporary and transient, but people, for example, there are some people who get depressed and they stay depressed for a long time. So I mean, when we say transient, is what kind of definition is that? Because it's not like it's a sensation that passes away, and depression is also an
I don't know what
experience,
you
but
mean
it
by
stays for long.
transient, that this is all see through. This is all
When I say
invisible.
transient, I mean say as they say in Buddhism, right? This too shall pass, or everything
Yeah,
changes.
yeah.
But when I did but the reason I want to I picked up depression is because I mean one of the things where it stays for a long time, right? It does not pass. So even as an experience, it does not change. People say depressed whole of their life sometimes. So when we say
Yeah.
everything changes, everything passes, sometimes things do not change at all. So how I'm not
Well,
able to align these two thoughts
they
in my.
do. They do also change. Like even if it takes a lifetime, it does change, and in every instant it's fresh again. That depression. But yeah, sometimes it can be a whole lifetime that someone stays depressed. But really, 80 years is nothing in the vastness of eternity.
Mm. Okay, okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay. Okay. Okay, so the next one is uh, when you say what it is what it is. I mean, it is what is happening, right? Or
Yeah.
I forget that. Yeah. And what you also said in your book is that what has happened for the human being is that communication of words have become more important
Yeah.
than what is happening. But thoughts and communication is also part of what is happening.
Yeah, it's part of what's happening. But really, everything in every instant is a mystery, but we take what we hear to be a truth. We and we always want a positive thing to be told. So if we haven't seen an object before, we always want to know its name because we want to be able to describe
Right.
things and know things in language. And we do it with people's behavior. So if if you didn't know someone and you were going to be introduced, you'd ask about them, you'd want to know a bit about them or what you think you could know about them. So you'll ask what they look like or their behavior, or and it's easier for the person to take that on than to have nothing to imagine someone by.
Yeah.
So people always want to live in positive beliefs, always.
Yeah. For example, I mean, if you get hurt, like just fall on the ground. I mean, the first thing, at least personally, first thing that comes to me is I want to blame something for that. I want an object to
Yeah.
kind of like direct my
Yeah.
experience towards.
And to be able to describe and know what it is. So
Yeah.
if you have an argument with someone, then you
Yeah.
want to be able to think and reflect about that rather than it just to be a mystery.
Yeah.
And rather than a car crash just to be a mystery, you want to know all the details and to understand it. And there's nothing wrong with that in itself. Thinking isn't a bad thing, and it's interesting to be able to think about things. But this personal energy claims it to be a reality. That's the way it is. So if we find out that somebody's a nasty person, we just believe they're a nasty person rather than that's just a description that came and went. And really, everything's a mystery. We don't know what it is. The table's not a table, the chair's not a chair, the skin isn't white, it simply is. But the separate entity takes it as a reality and takes the world as a reality, and the language of the human is so limited, it's always in opposites, it's always in two. I know white because I know black, I know good because I know bad, I know tall because I know small. So it's like a really limited language, but we see our whole world and ourselves through that description. And non-duality is a reminding that who you are isn't the person. Who you are is life itself, and life is totally invisible. It's nothing and it's everything. It's happening and it's not happening.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
And it's really mysterious as to what life is and why it's creating.
Mm. Okay. Um, the next one. Sorry,
Like
I've
if we're
got
just
like
but if we're just sat here right now,
right.
people would think it's madness to just for that there to just be a disappearance of this. They think I've got to keep up with Lisa, or I've got to be something, or I've got to follow something, rather than actually it can all just dissolve and there's simply what is, and there's speaking with in mystery, there's speaking as a mystery. But the person's
Yeah.
always trying to reflect, who am I, who are they, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Often after the conversation I forgot I'm even talking with people. and then
Yeah.
speaking comes again, and oh yes. But we're always trying to structure what we know to make it safe, but it's that structure which makes it unsafe.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, even I wouldn't say. I mean, that when I'm trying to understand all this, it's only because I have that understanding, and I'm not ready to be in a position where I don't know anything, and that's probably what you're talking about. It's very
Yeah.
hard for people to be in a position of not knowing.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's that you're ready or not ready. It's just simply at the moment life is producing the illusion of self, and when it stops, it stops. And it's not even really that you're having an experience, but there seems to be the experience of someone having an experience.
Yeah.
But basically, really, what the person wants to know is, how can I have the most happy life? That's really what the person wants. I don't know if it really cares about all this existential stuff. Like,
yeah, exactly.
it's just
Because I see the fakeness. For example, like I see a tremendous difference between weekdays and weekends. Say when I'm not working, all these questions disappear. Or let's say I'm going on a vacation, I wouldn't talk about or think about non-duality. I would just look at the ocean or just enjoy.
yeah,
I think it's in a way for me it has been a way to tackle the material world in a
yeah,
very easy way
yeah.
and easy solution.
Because it becomes really complicated, the material world, because the person now, the illusory self, has become complicated. The material world's become complicated, and lives have become very complicated, and there's lots of projections and ideas about everything. So it's kind of sometimes like a battlefield, and really, I don't know if people really are interested in true non-duality. I think they're just trying to live in a world where all the bodies have different ideas about things, and um, and your body has different ideas about things, and it has to try and match up with everything else. And really, the essence that everybody feels is a bit of a mystery and not knowing. But they're living in a society where you have to know and you have to be something.
Yeah. I mean, for me, at least for a lot of time, I was wanting to have this knowledge to kind of have something to say in an argument sometimes. Oh, this is all nothing, okay. But anyways, I can never win that argument. Uh, it's not experiential at all. And and this is probably the last question is. Let me see. Yeah, I have another question. No, this is quoting from what people sometimes say. Uh, they say they say like suffering happens when you like believe in your thoughts, right?
It's not that you believe in them, it's that that energy's claiming them to be a reality, rather than they just come and go and mean nothing and are nothing and just to used in practical terms. Something claims them and says, this is reality. That person's definitely an asshole, or that person's definitely better than me, or this is not nice, or I don't like this. And that's what the problem is. It's not so much the thoughts in themselves or the emotions in themselves, it's this energy that's always claiming it. Me, 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 me. And it gets more and more complicated.
Yeah, and what I was actually trying to point out to is, I mean, at least I feel that's a catch when people say, or some other teachers say, uh, suffering happens when you believe in your thoughts. But right now, I have to believe what the other teacher is saying in order
Yeah,
to kind of believe that
yeah.
suffering. Yeah,
It's another
so
thought that's been taken on.
yeah, so you have to, in order to disregard one belief, you have to take on another one.
Yeah.
So
Well, eventually, non-duality is really about letting it all go. Like
yeah,
all the spiritual ideas.
yeah,
Like I see a lot of the spiritual ideas as madness.
mm,
Like ones that we take as normal. But I see it's crazy too. Like any idea that you're investigating non-duality or it's making you happier or unhappier. It
yeah,
simply is happening, and it's not any of those descriptions. It doesn't mean that there can't be a talking about it, but it means nothing and goes no one. Someone says, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm investigating non-duality," and there's a description of it, but really nothing means anything. It's simply happening, and it's all question mark.
yeah. I mean, the only evidence I have experience of what you're saying is any idea that I use, it does not last for more than a day.
Yeah,
I mean, the next day I feel what was that I was doing, but I'll grab onto another idea, and that will seem interesting to me. But I know nothing works
yeah.
as a tool in
As
the
an
end.
idea, yeah,
Yeah. Okay, and the last question is.
yeah,
I think somebody did ask you a similar question, but the question is if you knew about this state of experience that you're living right now, and before awakening, if somebody asked you now that would you, what I'm trying to say is, would you have chosen this if there was a choice? In the
Yes,
sense, when you were seeking, would you
yes.
have gone for this?
If I knew what it was, yes. I
Yeah.
didn't at the time. I didn't know what awakening was. I thought it was pleasure. But yes, it's freedom.
Because some
It's
people
very
like,
hard living as a separate person.
oh, okay,
It's hard living, believing that you're real,
okay.
and
The
and
only,
believing that others are real as well, and that others have offended you or hurt you.
yeah,
I mean, there's still life has its issues, like still money has to be earned and life has to be lived, but it's no longer anyone doing it. It's a happening, and you're not in conflict with it anymore. It just happens.
yeah,
There's not something that's in conflict with it, so nothing lasts. Just comes and goes, comes and goes.
much lighter, I guess.
Sorry?
It must be much lighter or not as heavy as a,
It's just
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's so um, uh, incredibly easy. It's the person that makes it complicated. I mean, if you look at animals, this is so obvious. Like my dog is so simple: eating time, toilet time, crying time if she's crying, or like
Yeah,
crying like
there.
or barking time. It just is what it is. Whereas the human has so many hallucinations it lives in. Like
But
if I tell her off, she doesn't sit in the corner and ponder what an asshole I am for the next 10 years. And I've ruined her life because I did all these things to her. There's just sadness, and then it's gone.
yeah. But what if the dog had to live a life of a person, like
I
going, doing a job and
No,
wanting to?
that's easy. That's easy too. The hard bit of the person is the hallucinations that the human has because of its complicated thinking. And its biggest hallucination is I am somebody, they are somebody, and we act independently. And it's a drug. It's such a drug for the human. And so that's it's not complicated. Life is movements between pleasures and pains, although in another way it's not. They're just ideas as well. So life has its trials, and um, like Khaleesi still has fights with dogs at the dog park, or
Mm,
or people. Well, when we were in Thailand, people used to beat her, because she was a street dog. So life has its trials, but if you're not taking it personally, then it simply happens, and it's free to happen. And the
mm,
nature of life is to be free, for it to appear and disappear as if it never happened. Like the bird flying through the sky, it never leaves a trace. The same with life, it's invisible. But when there's this person with hallucinations, it keeps dreaming while the body is awake all these other dynamics. It
right.
makes it so complicated, like they did this to me, or I'm not good enough, or why do I have a life like this, or I'm better than that person, who do they think they are, I'm so much better. And it's happening on a thought and emotional level, and it's just taken to be truth, that reality, but it's got no truth on anything. Life simply is. It's a happening.
Okay. But intellectually, sometimes I wonder, like, let's just say uh, there are 10 people in a room, all of them are awakened, but there's only enough food for 9 people, and would there be? I mean, wouldn't there be a struggle for individual, or at least
Yeah,
at a?
yeah, the body's set up to survive. Yeah.
But wouldn't that person, even in that awakened person, would think that, okay, I have got to compete to in order to survive, and wouldn't that give rise to a sense of separateness or?
No, no, that's just survival. It
Okay,
doesn't, it's a different thing. It's not taken, it's just not seen through the veil of I've got to survive.
okay,
Most humans look through that veil as if it's a reality. When that veil's no longer there, there's still the impulses and thoughts, but life isn't seen like that. Life isn't caged
mm,
anymore.
okay, yeah,
But that's gonna, everybody each body is going to lose everything it's got. So enlightened people don't, if there is such a thing, they don't escape the ups and downs of life. Like everything that Lisa gains will also be lost, just like every other body. All the money, the house, the family, the kids, if I were to have some, the dog, everything goes. The image, the non-image, the like and love of others, the hate and dislike of others, all of it comes and goes, comes and goes. This world, like it's not that that's escaped, it's just there's nothing that takes it personally anymore and thinks it's happening to me. It simply is as it is, and there's no division between you and the outside. There isn't an inside or outside anymore, which makes it all free again to express.
So if there's no otherness, then in the case, do you personally, or do you find some people irritating and you'll always find them irritating, or how is that experience?
That's just irritation arising, but it's not me. The same with my dog. When she's in the dog park, she will have certain dogs that there's a bonding with and certain dogs that aren't. I personally can't. I don't really enjoy people that talk and talk and talk non-stop and don't even breathe for like an hour. Like I find that like and actually I couldn't take it for that long anymore. I would say something after 5 minutes. But so that's my dislike in humans is chatterboxes, ones that are non-stop talkers, and so there will always be a movement away from them. But I don't dislike or hate them. It's just that's a functioning happening in the body. Just like some bodies like the heat, some bodies like the cool, some bodies love chatterboxes, some bodies. But yes, this body has preference and has all emotions, but it's not mine. Every emotion has jealousy, irritation, love, anger, joy, happiness, all emotions, but nothing claims it anymore, so it just comes and goes.
So in a way speaking, it's almost like it's a biological function, feeling irritation and feeling happy, or feeling
of course,
wanting to read certain books, not wanting to read certain.
And but the seeker, the spiritual seeker, is trying to avoid all that. It wants this. It wants just pleasure. Permanent pleasure. And so it will look forever for this permanent state of pleasure. Which is okay, it can look, there's fun in looking, but it will never get there. There's no permanent state, there's simply what is.
And it's so hard to accept that it's simply what is. Even after, one would think that after having this conversation, I would think that, okay, it's easy to accept what is, but it is not.
No, but the person couldn't. It's like a chipping away of that energy, which is rejecting it. The person couldn't. Otherwise, you'd be sitting there going, I must accept this, I must accept this. And then you've got an idea of what acceptance looks like and what accepting would look like. Because it doesn't mean that losing your temper doesn't happen. That's not exactly what we'd imagine to be accepting. Anything can happen. It's just the identification is no longer with that irritation. It simply is happening. In boundlessness, and it's free to express. If it's a big explosive energy, it's free to express.
Okay. Yeah, this was really nice. Thank you for answering all the questions.
My pleasure. Nice to speak with you again.
Nice to speak to you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Hey, Spieler.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey.
Surprised me.
Oh yeah, because you're behind, so you can't see.
Yeah. first time speaking to you.
Oh yeah?
Yes. Actually, I don't know really what to ask, but yeah, I don't know how to say it.
Oh, take
yeah.
your time, there's no hurry. Oh, you just have to turn the volume off of Ustream. It's behind.
Okay. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to ask how to stop the identification with this mind.
If I knew the answer to that, I would be a very rich person.
Or what happened to you? What's changed in you, or when you stopped, or
Well, I went through this crazy path of seeking and doing all these special practices and different practices and going to different teachers and all these different things. And I never knew the way, and I never knew what to follow, but I attempted to try and follow different things. And then one day when I was eating banana fritters in a cafe in Bali, everything changed, and I don't know why. And for a while there was a trying to work out what it was and how and why. And then it was seen that you could never produce a thought which could tell you anything about life. Life is happening. Anything else that comes?
I don't know, out of this silence. Yeah. Very beautiful.
Yeah. Well, lovely to speak with you.
Yeah, to me too.
Bye. Hey, Amanda.
Hello.
Hi.
Able to see me?
Not yet. There we go.
Okay. Able to see?
Yes, I can see you.
So how are you?
Yes, good, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So today, tell us the tricks of the banana fritters. Should we take banana fritters? So you exactly did not know what happened when you were taking banana fritters in Bali.
No.
But sometime in one of your videos, you had said that prior to your experiential,
Oh,
in like 1 second, I just cut off my. Sorry.
that's okay.
Yeah. You had said that prior to your experiential awakening, you had an intellectual awareness of sort of a aware understanding of the awakening process. Was that a prelude to your awakening?
I don't know. It seemed
Intellectually,
to,
you sort of got to understand, and your personality became lighter.
yeah, I'm more stable. But now, having spoken about this for many years, I've watched people do the same as what I did, and then nothing happened.
So, what's the message?
Basically, we don't know. And who's it really going to happen for?
Okay. I was also watching one of your videos, I think 2014 Germany, titled "The Beauty of Non-duality,"
Yeah.
where you were talking about the similarity between a chair and a human being.
Oh, yeah.
And you said, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's very nice. You said the chair contains molecules, atoms, subatomic particles.
Yeah.
And inside there is space. So the chair is constantly changing, and over a period of time, the chair is going to disappear into something else. It'll either get destroyed or just go away. Similarly, is the human being. There is no difference between a chair and a human being.
Yeah.
And at one point in time, in the last talk, you had said, when I asked you, when I see a dead body, you said you see only a dead body as defined by society.
Yeah.
But inside that body, the tissue is still living.
Yeah, it is. It's still living. It's just our concept.
Yeah. So then, exactly the similarity between a chair and a human body is more or less the same.
Yeah.
They're made up of the same electrons, protons, and etc.
It's just a different forms being created, and we believe that that there's something in here conscious and something in here aware, but conscious and awareness is another structure of those atoms and molecules, and it's another formation giving the appearance that somebody's looking. But really, this is just life or no thing expressing itself, looking at itself. Otherwise, there'd be nothing happening, so it creates all these different appearances to make it seem like something's happening. Very clever. And we suffer because we believe we're real in relationship with the world. And inevitably, that's disastrous for a human because the human has to change form into something else. And if it believes that who you are is the human, then it's a very anxious life. And then if it believes the other person is a person as well, then it creates a lot of conflict because there's this living in I've done, you've done, we've done, we're bad, we're good. But really, that's not a reality. It's just happening in freefall. There's been lots of apparent rules made up giving the appearance of this.
So how to remove this human interaction, the human I-ness? And,
if anyone tells you they know, they're lying. If anyone tells you the way, they're lying, but they don't necessarily know they're lying. But they believe something, and they've taken that belief to be a reality. Like a thought has come up and they've believed it. So say with the banana fritters, maybe a thought could come up in somebody to say, it's because I didn't care less anymore about eating banana fritters for breakfast or not. So then I believe that that's why awakening happened, and then I teach all my followers to do the same thing, and they'll be sitting there for years, really plumpy at the end of it, after hundreds of banana fritters. Well, I want my money back, Lisa, but they've just taken a belief, and this is how religions begin. This is how cults begin, and this is how hatred and war begins as well. There's one belief is taken as a reality. But how can anything we think be a truth when basically what we think is a functioning and a tool, not a reality? The reality is always mystery, but that's very hard for the brain or the separate self to hear, because then not knowing is a disaster. So say if somebody asked me who Elango is, I could say he's an Indian man, and then they would feel happier about knowing Elango's an Indian man, but you're not really an Indian man. But they've taken on that bit of information, and that's who they see, an Indian man. And then and if I said, if I were to be a gossip and say bad things about Elango, like Elango gets very angry, or Elango cheats when he plays golf or something, whatever it is, then they'll see you as something like that. Whereas if I didn't gossip about you at all, they would feel less comfortable because they wouldn't know anything about you. They wouldn't have a belief about Elango. And everybody wants a belief about something. They want to know what it is. So they'd rather take on negative beliefs about Elango than not have any. Everybody wants to think something about something, because then that makes this world real and comfortable for people. They think that makes it real and comfortable for people. Oh, here it comes.
It's gone.
It's gone. And so people always want to stay in a positive belief, even with a non-duality. So they want me to say this is the way to freedom, and then everyone walks around repeating that the way to freedom is eating banana fritters for breakfast every day, and they feel seemingly comfortable in their belief system, but really it's another cage. They believe they are someone, they believe they can eat banana fritters, and they believe they can get to a word called enlightenment. We made up the word enlightenment, it doesn't mean anything. But this whole structure becomes a reality, and then you see people walking around in orange or white, trying to get, or banana colour, yellow colour, trying to eat the banana fritters and also get to this place of enlightenment. All of it's dreaming. True freedom is what's happening, which is mysterious and unknowable.
And this word freedom is for nobody.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Can't be for anybody, because anybody would be a belief system again. Would be something that person's claimed again.
So this freedom is infinite, it is universal, it's eternal.
Yeah. Even when the belief system's running, and even when the person is suffering, there's still that eternity everywhere.
So how to cut across, I mean, you already said, I mean, you do not know. The human species belief of, I being real, you being real.
Yeah.
That's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem of the software running.
Yeah, that's the beginning thought, is I exist. It's not a thought, it's an energy which comes in the body and feels I. And then it claims everything that comes out of the body. I think this is good. And then it takes that as an identity. I think this is bad, and it takes it as an identity. I am a woman, and it takes it as an identity. Yes, that's a description of the body, but that doesn't equal someone.
So you were telling in the other video, like you were showing your hand like this and saying, this software keeps on doing this. After the event happens, the software moves and picks up everything and then creates a false identity.
Yeah. You could say it's in the brain. I'm not really sure where it is, but it's most probably cellular. It may be in the brain, but it just is. It doesn't happen in other animals, just in humans. I was going to make a video about Khaleesi to try and make it more clear. Not that it really matters if it's clear or not. It's just thoughts. But I think that Khaleesi is such a great example for it. Not just Khaleesi, but all animals, but I just have access to Khaleesi. It's such a perfect example of, in every instant, life is as it is. So today, I've been training her with this vibration collar because she's not the easiest dog to train. She's quite, she gets distracted and she just walks off in the middle of training. And so this collar vibrates every time she doesn't listen to my command, and it just shakes around her neck. And so she's like, oh. And she's really cute. She tries to look at her neck to see what it is, but it reminds her to listen to my commands. But, if we did that to humans, this would go on for years. Oh, she put a vibrating collar around my neck and I had to do this, and what am I? But to Khaleesi, it's just a happening. It's nothing that holds on to anything. If she's in the park and another dog comes along and attacks her and rips open her flesh, as soon as I've removed her from the situation, she's up, tail up, doo doo doo. Nothing sticks because she cannot identify with anything. So it's life. There's not her in there. Life is simply expressing, and it's free to be as it is. It's like the bird flying through the sky without leaving a trace. It's traceless. Even though the body has conditioning, so next time she sees that dog, fear comes, but that's it. Everything is free. And it's not her inside, outside. It simply is as it is. And it's totally mysterious. And that's liberation. It's not a special state of bliss. It's the absence of the person that's claiming life and claiming what's happening.
And it is an automatic process, nothing to do with...
It's like everything. Like the wind is an automatic process, like the sunlight, so is the human. But the humans believe that it's been acting independently for so long. When it comes across this message, all it can hear is, what is she telling me to do? So she's telling me I need to let go of things. She's telling me that I need to be like a dog, whatever. And that's all the brain can hear, because the brain's conditioned and the person's conditioned in what can I do, believing it is the source of life, but not understanding it too is an expression. And now what's being blown in the person's face is non-duality, and that might or might not be heard. There's a good chance that when non-duality is appearing that it will be heard, but it's nothing to do with you or your actions or anybody else's actions, but it's appearing. Just like if you went to a ballet class, then more than likely ballet will be taken on, but you can't guarantee that. Langu might not be good at ballet, but it's nothing really to do with life. It's nothing to do with me. It's just the movement of things. And life does the most perfect, beautiful dance, and really there's nothing that gets liberated or is hearing these words. It's just nothing being seen. These talks are nothing revealing itself, whereas normally a human talks to you as if they are something in time. And this is nothing revealing itself. But it's nothing to do with me, it's everything. Everything is screaming this message. You look and think Lisa's speaking this message, but actually, if you take away everything you know, this is everything talking to everything. Not as a positive, not as something you know, but there's no position in the words. There's not somebody listening to it and somebody speaking. It's simply happening in this, as this.
So there is no purpose to life.
No.
Purposely.
But that's beautiful. The person thinks that's scary because, again, it's used to living in this fake world of my purpose, and I will get there. But the purposeless and meaninglessness of life is its love. It creates for no reason. It's like the child playing in the sunshine, or the child playing for hours outside. It has no purpose, has no reason. It's just running. I love it when you see kids playing really pointless games, like running up and down the road, and you can't really work out who's chasing who, but they're just doing it. And they're so ecstatic at doing it.
We were kids once.
Yeah.
Have you become a kid again?
I feel like the character of Lisa went back to a more similar Lisa when she was younger. Like as a young lady, I wasn't suffering loads, but I was concerned about life. And I was always pondering life, and I took things seriously, and I wanted to work it out. And it was a bit weighty. There was suffering that would come off in its bouts. Like there'd be periods of suffering coming up and discomfort, and I was concerned as to why things were happening the way they were, and why there was unfairness and all these things. And I didn't accept that I just had to have a job and had to have kids. So there was a bit of turmoil. And when that change happened, a lot of laughter came back, and a lot of playfulness of a similar, and a lot of fickleness, like simpleness. But who knows? I can't really remember what Lisa was like as a kid.
You were talking also about the Heart Sutra last time.
Oh yeah. You want me to read you the Heart Sutra that I like?
Yeah, I need to have it.
I
Can you
think,
just tell us something about it? I
listen,
have it for you if you want. Yeah.
what translation have you got though?
Edward Con's.
I don't know
I
what.
believe he's. I mean, but the translation is gone, 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 beyond,
Yeah.
gone altogether beyond. Oh, what an awakening! All hail.
I
Is
don't
that
know
it?
that one.
You have not read this, is it?
Sorry?
You have not read this?
I don't know that one, no. There's so many different translations.
There's another one by the 14th Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
Says, go beyond, go thoroughly beyond, and establish yourself in enlightenment.
No, that's not the one I want either.
But what was the gist of it? What was the take-home message? You got through it?
I'm sure. Hang on just 1 second and I'll find it for you. It's too hard to put into words. Oh, maybe I don't have it actually. It's just basically, I can't really tell you unless I have it.
In one of your talks, you also said that whatever Lisa talks is nonsense.
It is. If you take anything on in the positive and you leave here with anything and believe that you know anything about what I'm talking about, then that's a new concept. That's religion, that's dogma, that's believing in something new. It's not that. What else is happening? What is so free here? When the person gets lost, what's happening? When you stop believing this is happening to you and that what you see is something you know, then what's happening? Where is the sound? Where is the light? There is simply everything.
From my point of view, as a normal human being, what I see during these talks, though you keep on repeating that, when your talk is nothing and it's like if you take home a message from me, it's wrong. What I keep seeing is that you're debunking all positions being taken. You're killing all beliefs, all belief systems, and you're sort of making the mind or the software go numb, anesthetize. You're doing some sort of anesthesia to the mind. Seriously, isn't it? Conscious anesthesia, where sort of the senses are there, but the mind is cut off, and there is just life happening.
Yeah.
I wish this were like this throughout the day, but the point is, the person comes and then that link happens.
Yeah.
But as I keep listening to your talks and communicating, it's becoming less and less. What I, as a follower, is what I am finding in life now is that earlier, for example, if there is a morning session, an afternoon session, an evening session, some event happens which is sort of negative from the human point, we used to be carried to the next session, to the next day. Now that thing is being cut off. There is sort of a compartmentalization. It happens there and it's gone. That's what happens after we hear you speaking or hear your videos. So tell us, what are you doing? You're killing our mind?
I don't know. Simply it's happening. I don't look at life like that. It's just simply happening. If I were to give you some idea, then you would be in another illusion about what this is. It simply is.
It's a free fall.
Total free fall.
No personal responsibility.
No.
Isn't it?
No. Well, yes. Isn't it? It's always a confusing question, but there's no responsibility.
No. You have put that in one of your chapters in your book.
Yeah, I know, but I was confused by whether to say yes or no to isn't it. I couldn't work out which tense it was, but there is no free will.
Therefore, there is no personal responsibility.
Yeah.
That's what you meant.
Yeah.
So the main problem for the human species is the identification of the body.
Yeah.
And the life that we go through.
Mm.
Is there any way in which we can sort of disidentify? The $1 billion question.
It's a happening.
It's a happening.
I think Alango's run out of questions.
Pardon?
I said, I think Alango's run out of questions.
So where I am inside is, when you're repeatedly telling is that I am not inside the body, I am not the body, I am everything, and you are everything.
It's not even you. It just is everything. I mean, where would you start and end? It just is everything always.
There is only everything. That's all. Oneness.
Just everything.
There is no Lisa. There is no Ilango.
No.
There is a body mind speaking from that end, and there's a body mind listening from this end.
Yeah.
That's part of the whole, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
As you were telling, this event is linked to an event 10,000 years from now.
Yeah.
It's linked to ancestors, mating, etc., etc. So everything is like cosmic symphony. Everything is that linked to each other. Everything is moving like a Swiss clock, isn't it?
Yeah.
बिल्कुल बस मशीन में सर्फ एक्सेल मैटिक डाल दो इसकी एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी दे हैंड रिडक्शन जैसी सफाई मशीन में मम्मी हमने भी की आप जैसी सफाई सर्फ एक्सेल मैटिक फॉर मशीन मां की हाथों जैसी सफाई.
So what is your advice to the people who are watching you stream? Your regular
there is no advice. There is no advice. If they want a better life for them, then they're better off going to somewhere which helps recondition them in a slightly more positive way.
You mean psychologist?
Not necessarily. I'm not that into psychologists.
बिल्कुल बस मशीन में सर्फ एक्सेल मैटिक डाल दो इसकी एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी दे हैंड रिडक्शन जैसी सफाई मशीन में. मम्मी हमने भी की आप जैसी सफाई सर्फ एक्सेल मैटिक फॉर मशीन मां की हाथों जैसी सफाई.
You mean go to some other non-Advaita teacher who's like giving prescriptions instead of prescription?
Yeah.
That's what you mean?
Yeah. But that's only for the person to make the cage better. So if someone's really suffering with something, then there might be ways to make that person's life better. This subject is only for people if they're actually resonating with the subject. This isn't going to help them in any way. This isn't going to get them in any way, get them there in any way. It's only if there's that resonance, a knowing of what's being talked about. But it's not going to get you anything or bring you anything. It's just some form of knowing beyond the intellect, beyond what the person wants or doesn't want.
Knowing for whom then?
It's not for anyone. It's like when I'm speaking, everything, nothing knows this. It is this, but when I'm speaking, normally it's the person and the mind listening, and the person's listening and wanting to get somewhere and trying to get somewhere, and then there can be this other form of listening, of a knowing that isn't a feeling or a sensation. It's like a waking up or a moving of the clouds for a second, or waking up of something which was pretending to be a person, that was sleeping and pretending to be a person. And then it's like everything begins to wake up again. And if it resonates, then that's what these talks are for. But these really aren't about improving the life of a person. If you want something, and if you want your life to be better, and if you're suffering lots, then it'd be better off going to someone that can give some form of therapy, but not necessarily talking about yourself non-stop. Those are the sort of therapies I'm not so into. Putting too much emphasis on the person.
Yeah. But that's something which is not correct, isn't it?
What?
Because there is no person, and you cannot put an emphasis on a non-person.
Sorry?
You said I'm putting emphasis on a person, but the thing is that there is no person.
No, but while that energy is there and someone believes they are, and if they've got a lot of problems, what they would consider problems in their life, then this isn't the place for them. But sometimes people come to this to hide.
But if this is not the place, then there is no other place where it can be helped, because everything happens automatic. It's a robotic
It does.
life.
It does happen automatically.
So irrespective of them going to therapy or to a psychiatrist or to anybody, if they're going to improve, they're going to improve anywhere, even in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
I don't think that a person's necessarily going to become a happier person here. Could do.
But you have told us that persons do not exist.
No, they don't. But well, they believe they do, then they do. They're not real, but when somebody believes that their husband, say, has cheated on them and they feel really distraught and hurt by this, and their brain is repeating the agony of that action, then maybe going and taking some physical therapy will relieve that in a way, but it's nothing to do with them. It's not them that's healing it. It's just that some physical therapy or some talking about it or meeting someone with something, some recipe for that, like so expressing in a group or shouting or something or releasing the energy of that might be helpful, but that's nothing to do with non-duality, and that doesn't imply somebody. It's just like if I said to you, could you pass me the salt, your body would pass the salt. So it doesn't mean personhood. If that body goes to a acupuncturist to try and relieve this tension, and the acupuncturist says, oh, and don't eat beans, beans will make it worse because they'll increase the fire or something, or whatever they might say, that might or might not work, but it's not them that's doing it. It's just the flow of life. It's just the movement. One thing gets said and then the body does that, and it's just the movement of how things go. But that doesn't mean there's an actual acupuncturist and speaking and there's actually somebody hearing. It's just the flow of things. But if you are wanting to fix your life and make things better, or sometimes people get into this because they don't know what to do with themselves and they want something to follow, this isn't the right thing. This is just about if there's a resonance with it, with that nothingness, with that everythingness, that this is everything speaking. And it's a waking up of that everything again. And it's not really waking up because everything's not a thing, but it's been dreaming for so long that it's somebody separate. And then at some point it reminds itself, it puts like an alarm in the dream and goes, everything, everything, everything. And there can be a hearing of that. But it's not meant for everybody, and some people just want to heal their hurt heart because they've been hurt a lot of times. And that's why there's so many therapies out there. And if that's what the person really wants, and the person really wants happiness, then that's beautiful too. That's what's happening too. Why not? But then there's other bodies that are programmed to begin to hear this, and then there's the waking up.
And then there's a waking up.
Yeah. It's not even the bodies that are programmed, it's just there's a program running where this is to be heard. That everything is hearing now, everything is speaking now. Not you, not me. It's happening in everything, as everything. There's not something separately listening. There's not a Lisa here listening. There's not a Lalango there listening. There is simply sound, and the sound is being heard by itself. The sound is the hearing. It's beautiful.
So it's a cosmic drama.
It's a cosmic drama when somebody believes there's something separate from this.
Cosmic drama run by that universal operator.
Yeah.
Unknown operator, mysterious operator.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like a phantom.
Yes. But hiding in everything.
Something is doing all these things.
Everything is.
Pardon?
Everything is.
Everything is doing all this mysterious, magical, moment-to-moment changes.
Yeah.
And today you're telling that people who come here, other than non-duality, would not sort of get a relief and would like to go for other forms of therapy. But your sessions or your talks are more for people who resonate with your talks.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Resonance means what?
I can't explain it. There's just a knowing beyond knowing.
It's like dancing, sort of.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Dancing happens by itself. They say, like dancers, they become the dance.
Yeah.
There is no separate dancers.
Yeah.
They
Like
become
that.
the dance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, tuning folks? Like, They vibrate on the same frequency, something like that.
Yeah.
That is what you mean by resonance.
I see. Yeah, yeah. A dissolving back into this, and then it
Pardon?
becomes everything speaking. A dissolving into this.
Going back to this chair analogy that he had given in one of the speeches, even inside the human body, inside the atoms, we do not know where we are. Inside the brain, where Lisa is, where Ilango is, where anybody is inside their body, it's not known by the medical profession, by neurologists, psychologists. Nobody in the world knows where the human is talking from. The I-ness.
No. Nobody knows where hearing's happening or where looking's happening. It simply is.
And your main theme of your message, apart from the this, is the nothing and everything.
Sorry?
Isn't it? The main teaching of yours is nothing and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they are opposites.
I don't see them like that.
How's your cold?
Oh, it's very good, thanks. It's gone now. Maybe I'll move on now, Elango, because I've got some more people wanting to ask questions.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's always lovely to speak with you.
Yeah, again.
Sweet. Bye, Elango.
Thank you very much.
So just a reminder that you have to call. Hey, Jessie.
Hi, Lisa. How's the audio this time? Better?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was really bad last time, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a lot better.
Good. I was reading your book last night and also watching a video this morning, and this theme kept coming up about the seeking dynamic, being really searching for happiness in the future. And you said something that was just magnificent. That really seeking for happiness in the future is a rejection of life. That's very powerful.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But it made this question arise about what about creative urge, like artists are compelled to create and so on. Is this the same thing, or is
No.
it
So
different?
the thing about the body, the human body, is the human body is designed to survive, so it's designed to move forward. It's always designed to, and this is where it all got confused. So it's designed to make sure it has enough food, to make sure it has enough warmth, and it has the ability to imagine, so it can imagine future, whereas my dog can't. If I give her, actually she can a bit. She'll bury food and stuff. I find it all over the house. Gross places, a mouldy bone. I'm like, oh, thanks, Khaleesi. But mostly she can't think about these things. Whereas with the human brain, we've got a lot better ability to perceive time and to be able to store away things for survival. And so because we've got this ability to seek contentment, to seek contentment for the body in the future, we then believe that our spiritual happiness, our contentment, our sense of being comes from the future as well. So the natural functioning of thinking is to think about the future and to analyze the past. So that's what it does, is it moves in that direction. But we then think that contentment, that peace comes from the future. But peace, you can't really call it a name, but freedom, boundlessness is what is. It's nothing to do with the movement of the body towards the future. So the natural momentum of the human body is to look to the future. But that doesn't give you anything. It doesn't give you anything. What gives you, well, it gives you practical things, but the freedom that everyone looks for is always what is. But I see creativity as part of that momentum of what the body does. So it's going to strive to create things for the future. And if you have a creative body-mind structure as opposed to a building one, so if you've got a building structure, you're a builder or you're a doctor, then that's what the movement of the body would do. If the body is a creative one, as in creating music or art, or lately I've been writing again, then there will be a momentum to do that. But you won't get anything more by completing it. It's just what the body does, but you won't get anything more by the completion of it. It will be pleasurable, it will be nice. It's nice when the body can act out what the body's good at and what brings the most pleasure for the body. So it's nice if you're a musician to be able to create music and to look for the future for potential recordings or performances. But that won't give you anything more than sitting right here. True freedom is this. This is true freedom. But the nature of the body is always to move forward. Like, obviously, like the nature of the human body is to be able to think and move forward and survive. You understand what I mean by move forward?
Yes.
Like, you don't sit in rotting food. The food gets cleaned away. But really it's not moving forward, because the true nature of everything is total stillness. So it's always happening now. But in spirituality, because of all the deconditioning things that are talked about, we kind of begin to get this assumption that in some way the human body will stop being a human body, if you know what I mean. Like in some way it will overcome its conditioning and it will start acting as if it's not. But this is a really important part, but not really important in the sense of where I see a lot of people suffering is they believe that the body's going to become non-human, and it's like the human part. So the human thinks, the human's going to have all types of emotions. The human, I don't mean to be nasty about humans, but it's just the way we're set up. The human body will always look after itself first, and I don't mean to. It will look after its companions. It will look after them because we're also programmed to live in a group. So actually we will pick the group over us. But that too is a selfish thing in a way, because that's what's the most, it's always, the human always goes towards pleasure. The body always goes towards pleasure, and in that circumstance the protection of its surroundings and the humans around it is the most pleasurable, brings the most pleasure, even though the person wouldn't think like that. So the body has all these ways, and it's all set up to survive. The human body is about survival, and it's about making sure it survives for the future, and that's its number one. And it's not that that's a nasty or mean thing. It's the same with the plant, and it's so beautiful what happens in the plant. So say a flower, in order for it to survive, it has to produce really bright flowers to attract the most amount of insects. So you get these amazing array of flowers. Like, it's not a negative thing that the human does that, but it seems negative because we see it as things that have hurt us in the past. We think humans have treated me badly and they've thought about themselves first. But actually what's created suffering and that agony is the belief that you exist. My dog is not offended at all that I eat my food first before her and always feed this body first, and she's not allowed to go near the fridge and I get to go near the fridge. She doesn't see that as in any way hurtful upon her. It's simply the way it is. This body and my boyfriend's body gets the number one picking. We get served first and she's second. But she doesn't take it personally, but the human sees that and thinks, I wasn't loved enough, I wasn't good enough. And therefore the human has to stop being a human. Others have to stop seeking pleasure first because they've hurt me. And so they then form these weird relationships with people where you make lies about, I'll always think of you first, I'll always do things for you, and I'm not selfish, and it's really not true. The body's always set up to move forward, and it's a really beautiful thing. But the reason why most humans want to reject it is because they've taken that personally. They've taken it as a rejection on them. Them looking after themselves as a rejection on me. And then they suffer. But it's really beautiful what comes out of the human. If it wasn't for this ability to move forward, there wouldn't be all these things that we created. I mean, look at the computer. It's amazing, and that will still happen if the illusion of self disappears, but it just will no longer be for someone. The production might not be as quick, but it will still happen. The human will still be creative. It will still want to create. It will still want to move forward. There will still be music. There will still be art. But just maybe on a slower scale. Maybe humans won't find it so important to make it now and within the next 5 minutes and growth. But they will always create, no matter what. That's what this instrument does, the brain. It loves to imagine and think of all different things. I wonder if, could I do, will it grow better if, I'm just looking at a plant, that's what I'm saying there.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Lovely to speak with you again, Jesse.
Lovely to speak with you as well. Bye.
Hey, Melissa.
Oh, hello, Lisa.
Hi.
Thank you so much for accepting my call.
My pleasure.
I can hear a bit of feedback in it, so it's a bit difficult to talk. Okay, so
There isn't feedback on this side. You could try putting in headphones.
Yeah, my headphones are in.
Oh.
Maybe what I'll do is I'll talk and then I can hear you. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So the illusion here could be seen through. At a point where I was just trying to do something to become free of the mind.
Yeah.
And I realised that so many other times when I was just doing something like hanging up the washing, that there was just this place of no mind. So it was kind of seen that actually there was no point in doing anything because it didn't matter what I was doing, that something would just happen.
Yeah.
So it was just seen that there was no person doing anything at all.
Yeah.
But now sorry, I put my earphone back in. But now there's still a full range of human emotion, and the mind is still completely there.
Yeah.
And like there are nerves in the body and nervousness and a shaky voice and everything. but there's no identification with it, and I know it's not me doing it, you know, but
Yeah.
the mind is still there. And I guess my question is, the mind is still here and there's still extremes of emotions, but yet there's no identity, and how can that be, kind of thing?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what you mean by mind, and I don't know.
Like the talking in the head.
The talking in the head. Yeah, that still happens, but there's just the absence of looking for something better than what's happening. But sometimes in waking up, there can be lots of crazy different things happening in the body, and different extreme energies happening and voices happening.
But there seems to be a complete surrender. Like there's no need to try to do anything to get anywhere better, because it's completely seen that whatever's arising can't be any other way.
Yeah.
But yet I still very much feel human.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't know. I mean, there's nothing that can be done anyway, so
Yeah.
I guess I just wanted to hear your feedback. And
there's still something that can see that, obviously. Like there's still something that's seen that, which is still an identification in a way. Like even the seeing that there's nobody there is still something that sees that. It's like more what's being talked about is the disappearance into it all.
Okay.
The disappearance into whatever's happening. But it's a tricky thing when awakening happens, because lots of different experiences happen, and you can't understand a thing. So anything that I tell you is just an understanding that comes and goes. So any belief system on what's happening now, or even if I say it's a disappearance into things, that is just an idea at the end of the day, which comes and goes and doesn't really mean anything. But this is really full on stuff, because then it leaves you no position.
Yeah.
Even if you begin to see that also the idea that nobody's there is an idea as well, you're left absolutely positionless. And then there can be a movement that happens between being the human to the human being an experience, and then who you are to say, but there's not a you, is everything. So this movement can happen. But even that, can you see how I've set you up in another trap in a way by even saying that? But it's what came out, because then there's an expectation of something else to happen. It's so crazy. You're left with nothing, no reference point. And then you might notice the mind's trying to hang on to a reference point, or the thoughts are trying to hold on to a reference point, but they can't get anywhere. Where can they get to? There can only ever be what's happening.
Yeah. But even say, like, I've got to the point where it's just now, I don't do anything, and I know that I'm not doing anything. Like, there may be the thought that, oh, I picked up the glass and had a drink, but actually I know it wasn't me, but yet the thought says that it was me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The thoughts will always describe like a you doing things, but that person is an experience. That's the way it goes. Like Lisa or I went to the shops, but but that is an experience. That it's not an experiencer.
Say that again.
That's an experience that I did something, not the experiencer.
Okay, but how can it be? I mean, maybe I'm thinking that I've seen through the big illusion, when maybe it was just a preliminary thing. But it feels like I've seen the whole illusion, and yet I'm still playing as the person.
Yeah.
You know. So how is that possible?
I would say that there was an experience that happened, seeing through it all, and that's what you'd call an awakening. And then there's still the energy playing out as if the person's having the experience.
Yeah.
But that's what seems to happen, is there seems to be these crumblings.
Okay.
Because you can't know that you've seen through it. That you can only know that when the person comes back.
Yes, that makes so much sense.
Because who would see it? It would simply be as it is, and that would be gone, like everything else.
But yet, there's nothing the personal identity can do to keep it from coming back. It's just if it's written.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, if that's what's happening, yeah.
So it's just a complete surrender to, if my story is written that I will fully awaken, then it will.
Yeah.
So I'll just continue to watch your beautiful videos then.
In a way, there never was a story. It just feels like there's been a story and that there is a story. In another way, that's just a daytime dream. Like a daytime, I mean, there's no real daytime, but just a dream while the body's awake. I like all the sounds of the insects in the background.
Yeah, I'm in Portugal.
Nice.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I all the questions that would arise would be, what can I do? I know from listening to your videos that there's nothing to do. So I'm just thankful that you're here to give these beautiful talks. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Melissa.
I see you one day as well.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Sweet. The rains have come. Okay, guys, well, I think that's enough for tonight. It's nearly 10 o'clock here. I'm off to bed. There will be no talks, I think, for a few weeks, because this weekend I'm in Oslo, Norway. So if you want to join me, I'll be in Oslo. You can find out about that on my website. And then next week I'm on holiday in Italy. So I will post it on Facebook as to when, and on my website. I always say I'll do that, and I don't do it, but I will. Thank you. Much love.